Well, welcome back to the Krown Crypto channel. It is a lovely, actually not so lovely Sunday. It's really dark and dreary outside right now in Helsinki, Finland. But the question of the day is, does the rally continue? Is Bitcoin poised for more? Or is it the big bull trap that I think a lot of people are, or maybe some people are still looking for? Anyways, yes, we're going to be looking at what the statistics say. And I expect we'll just jump right on into this one, make it no more complicated than what it needs to be. And then do some shilling at the end of this video. So first things first, let's start it off right over here. 5-day time frame, completely new, as we do see a 5-day volatility versus stochastic momentum setup right in front of our very faces. Now, this one's been baking for quite some time. I haven't spoken about it on this channel, however, simply because, well, whenever we do see volatility this low, you know, it takes some time for this setup to emerge, which I believe we're seeing as of right now. Anyways, in this case, we do see that 5-day volatility represented by the BBWP indicator has gone down to extreme lows, which are defined as below 15 percentile or more. And in this case, it is starting to expand from these extreme lows. So when expansion does happen, the direction of the stochastic oscillator has had a high probability to move, rather like aggressively in that direction. In this case, we can see that the 5-day stochastic oscillator is pointed to the upside, also playing out a trendline regression bounce right here that we identified, I believe, last week or the week prior, and will be remaining with upside pressure as long as Bitcoin on the 5-day time frame is closing above 26,700. So it's got a little bit of leeway there, you might say. But going into it right here, we can actually dial down on these statistics a little bit more harshly. So if we go over here, I've actually documented all of the prior setups with that in place before. And if we are just taking the long setups into consideration, it actually has had a 100% strike rate thus far out of 11 iterations. Now, I don't expect that to always hold true, although for this particular one, it looks like it still is. On the short side, it is not 100%, by the way. And again, it is inevitable that over time it will not be 100%. But for right now, so far so good. And from that particular setup, over the next about 33 days on average, there has been about a low 40% return, standard deviation of 10%. So that gives us a range on the lower end between about 33% all the way up to about 53% on that first standard deviation. So looking at it right in over here, I would say that it's not necessarily a formality, but it's pretty fucking close, I'd say, in the case that 5-day BBWP really starting to expand. Just want to see this one really close above that 15 percentile mark. And then, yes, I'd say that this one is fully confirmed, and the upside would have the higher probability within this case. Again, if we are looking at the first standard deviation on the lower side, we're looking at about a 33% move, which would put Bitcoin somewhere around about 33,000 to 33,500 or so. If it does go for the average, which was about 43%, that would put Bitcoin somewhere around $35,500 to $36,000, which is actually where one of the major CME gaps comes in from last year, May. And if it goes for the upper end of the first standard deviation at about 53%, that would be a move all the way up to about $39,000. So, does this rally continue? It does look like the probabilities are in favor of that, and we'll go into a little bit more detail later as well. But I wanted to start off on that, some a little bit new here as that does start to emerge. And speaking of timing, again, on average, we expect that to take about 30-ish days, somewhere around there. So where would that essentially put us? Where that put Bitcoin in terms of timing? That would be, if we take it from the actual, from that low, which is how I measure these things, that would be about middle of July, actually, middle of July. So we are at the end of June right now, so about 3-4 weeks, let's say, from this moment. Again, there's going to be some variance in there as well. Standard deviation on the timing of that was 10. So, on the lower end, about 3 weeks. On the upper end, maybe like about a month and a half. But so far, so good. All right, sweet. Moving on to the next one. I did want to once again go over the Gaussian channel here. Obviously, CME already closed for the weekly, and spot price action will be closing later tonight. And it looks very, very likely it's going to close above the top side of that Gaussian channel right here, which is currently hovering around about $29,000. Now, I do want to say at the outset that coming into next week, if there is going to be a pullback, somewhere around like 29 to 29,500 is actually fair game. I'm not saying that there is going to be a pullback, but if there is, that would be the area of interest, so to speak. But in this case, anytime that we have seen the Gaussian channel turn red and Bitcoin on the weekly time frame work its way through that red zone into the into the top end of the Gaussian channel between there and the mean band. Okay, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. I apologize. Just woke up, man, and I'm struggling for fucking words right now. What I'm trying to say is that anytime that we've seen this particular signature right here, where Bitcoin has broken above the mean band after it turns red on the Gaussian channel, it's had a nice time to play between the top side of the Gaussian channel and the mean band. And in all prior iterations, it has actually broken out of the top side before, retracing in some cases like pretty nastily. In this case, it looks like this trend is going to continue over here. And as you'll notice in all these prior ones, which we can even go to other timeframes and get even more iterations, but I think this will do for right now. It's gone on for some pretty significant runs actually at first. So if we go into here and we dial this down a little bit more, we can see that yes, when we do see Bitcoin actually break out of the top side of the Gaussian channel, on average, it's gone on for almost actually about a 47% run, which is really fucking impressive, because that's actually pretty in alignment with what we just looked at on the 5-day volatility versus stochastic momentum setup. As far as timing goes, about 3 weeks on average. So, we can start to look at that as relevant. Maybe 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, somewhere around there is fair game. And again, standard deviation on the returns for this one, about 17%. So yeah, giving us a range between about 30% all the way up to 65% or so. So going back into it right here, we would be taking this measurement in this particular one, be measured from right here. And again, on the lower end, about 30%, that would actually put Bitcoin at $37,500. 47%, which would be the average would put Bitcoin at about $42,000. And if it goes really crazy, 60%, that would be a Fibonacci target right there at around $48,000. I'm actually curious if that aligns with an inverted fib, and actually no, it does not. So fair enough. But more importantly, in this case, we do see multiple things now kind of aligning with each other, suggesting a high probability continuation of this move to the upside. Now, I would say that all of these prior ones were followed by a pretty nasty downturn afterwards, 30 to 40% in many cases. So, after this rally does get done, I would be looking for a pretty nasty move to the downside. The question is, where does Bitcoin end up first before playing out that move? And so, obviously we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves right now, but it's going to, massively change things if Bitcoin gets to like $38,000 and plays out like a 30% downside move, which would put it at like 26.5, versus like if it went to 48, which I think is like pretty fucking far out there. But that would put, a 30% correction would put Bitcoin back down around $33,000. So, one thing before the next, but just, outlining things for the future. Yeah, for right now, over this next, let's say 3 week to maybe 5 week spread, upside more likely. And then after that, I'd be looking for a period of distribution and a pretty significant downside move, actually. Anyways, moving through this one a little bit more, I do want to point out a few more things. We do see that there is hidden bullish divergence of the 1, 2, 3 drive variety on the weekly RSI emerging as of right now. Again, assuming that Bitcoin closed the weekly here or higher, or just really anywhere above like $30,000, that'll be confirmed. Just another sort of competing factor that does say, hey, upside still, more likely from this region. Again, weekly volatility, some of the lowest levels that we've seen in Bitcoin's history, actually, comparable to what we did see back on over in August of 2020, before this mega move over here that I have circled actually. And before that, what else is comparable? This one over here would be comparable, and that's actually it, in fact. So, looking at pretty significant pivot here on price action, as kind of the stars are aligning for right now. And speaking of stars, I haven't really looked at the moon analysis, but I suspect that that's maybe even bullish as well. I don't know. Anyways, moving on a little bit more, I do want to point out that the weekly stochastic oscillator, again, which is closing later tonight in about 18 hours, 26 minutes, and 55 seconds. Hey, what the fuck? Damn phone, keep on blowing up my damn notifications there, is going to actually be freshly pointed to the upside within the bullish control zone, I should add, assuming that Bitcoin closed today above $29,000, which so far, again, looking pretty good right there, I would say. And then one last thing I'll leave you with, because I do want to make this one a little bit on the shorter side, because I do understand that, it's not like super interesting right now. But the halving timing, I do want to come back to this one, because this is still aligning with the overall stats. So what I've done here is I've gone through each and every one of Bitcoin's prior macro cycles, and I've marked off a couple, two major things. I've marked off first where the halving actually happened, and two, I've marked off from that parabolic blow off top the overall long-term downtrend here on a weekly. And I've measured the space between where Bitcoin breaks that long-term downtrend to the next halving, and then also documented that first major rally, which you'll see, for example, right here, or again, right here, right? Anyways, in this case, just kind of go over it before I show you the stats on this one. When Bitcoin is putting these parabolic blow-off tops in this long-term downtrend, it typically breaks that long-term downtrend about a year before the actual halving. In this case, it was 52 bars on the first one. This case over here was 54 bars. This case over here was 58 bars. And this case over here, actually 66 bars, which is rather interesting because, we have a spread of 2, spread of 4, spread of 8. So it seems to be kind of operating within that relationship long term. Anyways, in this case, we do see that first rally, the first rally that we did see, where's my damn stats here? Come on, stats, show me where you are. I need to know now. Moon's having breakup. There we go. We can see, and again, there's not many iterations right here, but we're just going to go with it anyways. We can see that after it breaks that long-term downtrend, it's gone on an average run of about actually 140%. The lowest of the priors was like 100% move. Highest was about 167, and then we have 155 right here as well. So pretty significant. And the amount of time that it took from the break to that next major high was on average 100 days. Now, I would denote that the first one over here was only 42. The next couple were 133 and 126 respectively. So let's actually go back into it right now and let's see where we're at, as Bitcoin did break this one officially right here. And from that area to where we are right now is 126 days. So it is above the average, obviously, but not outside of the realm of possibilities right here. It's certainly, if this rally does continue, going to be on the upper end of these, but that's not like it wouldn't be like a super outlier if it goes on for another few weeks is what I'm trying to say. For example, if this were to go on until, let's say, mid July, late July, that'd be like 160 days or so. So, does Bitcoin continue on into there? Again, I don't think it's unreasonable to make that sort of synopsis. And looking at the percentage gain over here, I mean, this is where things do become a little bit more unreasonable for me, just personally. But if it were to go for a 100% move, off those lows, where that put Bitcoin, that would put Bitcoin at about 45,000 bucks. If we do see it go fully towards that, or at least closer towards that average, I mean, that would basically put Bitcoin around the prior high, I would guess. That would be like 55,000 bucks. So, I mean, I wouldn't be mad if it happened, but it does seem a little bit less likely. Just saying, just my personal opinion, I guess. I'm actually curious if that aligns with one of our major inverted fibs, and actually I already have it done over here, and probably not. Maybe somewhere around the 786, but yeah, not really getting too much from that. Again, I do wanted to note that after that particular rally happened, there was on average about a 40% loss. So again, long term, I do think that Bitcoin, is going to probably give another major attempt to the downside. It just depends how high it gets on this current rally, whether it's like deep 30s, let's say 38, whether it gets to 45 or even, one of these 50 numbers, which I think is unlikely. That obviously is going to massively compel the next piece. So I think that is where I'll leave things for today. Again, statistics suggest that it's more likely to see this rally continue. Areas of interest to the upside, in the more near term, is going to be about 33,500 bucks, I believe it was. And then you got like 35.5 to 36, and you got about 38.5. And then there's, I think it was like 44 and 48 and maybe even 51, which I do think is like rather unlikely. But that's a good place for us to leave it for today. Difficult to shill the old Apex exchange. They actually have been growing rather rapidly recently, so they are becoming a more and more viable decentralized exchange alternative. There is an affiliate link in the description below, which will award you 5% off of your trading fees for the lifetime of your account. And then also you can get the Joolite free for the first 30 days as well if you follow the directions there too. there we go. That's it for today. I want to be wishing you the best as always. Take care. Much love. And one last thing. Next week is holiday. We got a holiday. It's the 4th of July. It's the 4th of fucking July, baby. So we're gonna have a sale. so hold on for that. If you're considering buying any one of the programs or products, maybe just wait a week. It might save a few bucks. All right, there we go. As always, take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.